I'm glad you're here.
We're I was waiting for everyone to you get like overstep. No. Here.
Why don't we go ahead and call the Johnston special work session.
Councilmember Cope?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Reddy?
Here.
Burkhart?
Here.
We have one item on the agenda this evening, and that is discuss the possible precincts.
I'll take just kind of a brief moment to talk about where we are. Tom and Dave Kroll met yesterday for an hour and a half or more to work on Tom Leffler, sorry, thank you.
A lot of times.
Yeah, Mr. Leffler had some suggestions based on using the creek. As I sent out to you earlier today, there were 2 iterations of the map that came out of their meeting yesterday. What we're calling now version 2 is a non-compliant map because of a non-contiguous census block in the middle of, I don't have it in front of me, I can't remember. I believe it's tied to District was 6, might have been changed, but really it resides in Precinct 2.
I don't have a hard copy of version 2 in front of me.
You don't have, I didn't want to put too many versions up there, but I can certainly show it to you. So down here in this corner, let me share my screen here momentarily. Okay. So here, this census block here, I'll zoom a little more, is I believe it's about 36 people in that one census block. And because it's not contiguous to this other green section, this other district, it's not considered compliant per the state code. So what we did then was create version 3, which is essentially the same layout, except we carved out a portion of 62nd and Merle Hay. Again, it's kind of hard on these maps so we could include those 36 people in that what is now District 2. So that's really the difference. If you want hard copies of version 2, I'm happy to provide those.
Isn't there quite a significant change in the floodplain area of District 2 from the version 2 to 3? Because in version 2, it just follows, it's on the entire east side of Merle Hay Road, but in version 3, District 1 jumps over Merle Hay Road.
I think that may be a color issue. Let me pull up a previous version.
That would be great if it's a color issue.
I believe it is.
Because I thought, why would we want to do that? That's
Merle Hay Road Divide 1 and 2.
Dave's working on. Dave, you can just.
Can you hear me, Cindy?
Yep.
Okay. The reason that is, it looks like a lot of area, but there's not a lot of people in that area.
Pull up the map.
so it's correct in that the version 3.
Yes, what you're seeing, it is part of District 1, a significant portion of District 1.
Yes.
But no one lives there.
Well, not no one. The residents of Edencrest live there, which is north and west of Terra Park, across from the Home Builders Association.
This is 1.
Right.
So there are some persons that live there.
It looks like.
So Dave, am I correct in asking you if what I'm calling version 3 with county inclusion, that's the only difference in these 2 maps, correct?
Yes, I think 6 has changed as well. I had to pull people out of the then 6 and finagle some people into District 1, thus maxing it out to get those 67 people or people that were on Glen Circle, which was south of North Glen by the library, to work.
So I'm not sure we're saying the same thing. So can you see my cursor, Dave?
Certainly.
So you see this, which I don't know what road that is, but
Pioneer Parkway.
so Pioneer Parkway, one still comes over here, right? This is all one,
That's correct.
and this is two.
Looks like in one, there's a little bit of a notch that comes across.
7 people live in that notch.
7 people, what is that?
Dave?
That's basically Walgreens. It is
people
one
live in
census
that.
block. And
It's
in
a-
talking with
Census block.
David Wilwarding, although the Census Bureau certifies 7 people live there, they are very careful not to identify any one person by their demographics in their blocks. So they will sometimes fudge a 0 block or a person where they have like 1 or 2 people living in a census block so that they're not identified in person. They will pull some from an adjacent block and add to it because you cannot identify an individual with 7 people. Whereas if there were 2 people there, you could potentially identify them by their data.
Interesting.
Mr.
Well,
Walgreens.
So I don't know if you are, well, you must not have, but anyway, it looks a heck of a lot better. Thank you, Tom and Dave. And Cindy, you know, 4 and 5 look amazing. They look like pretty easy to describe. I guess if version 3, where we have to take the floodplain and Pioneer Parkway, it's not as sweet as being able to just say District 1 is on the east side of Merle Hay and District 2 is on the west side, which would be a great thing to say. But if that were the only drawback, I feel like that's about the only drawback, and it's livable to me.
Is there anyone that would potentially, I think this, I think this is a good proposed map as well. Is there anyone who will have moved into a different precinct that would be surprised by it?
Wait, can you switch on the mic?
Is there any small, maybe subdivision within a division, residential division that would move into a new precinct that would be surprised that they're not remaining in their old precinct?
Well, there are on there. We had to move quite a few people from 1 and 2 into 6 to balance out the population.
Right.
So, you know, before 6 was more of a set it, and now it's quite a little bit different. It includes the North Glen area, for example.
Johnston Commons.
Right.
Yeah, and Johnston Commons and you know, the hillside there, Aubrey Court and so on, all of that. There's another example of people that moved from 2 or from 1 into 6, which is, you know, some people are gonna, but if we actually minimize the changes.
Well, that's what I was
1 and 2
hoping.
and 6 is pretty much like they were, it's just boundaries change. The other big ones are, oh, sorry. Oh, can I point to this? And
Well, you can just.
oh, I can look at it. Okay, so the other one that I would, you know, we had to adjust precinct 4 quite a bit because it had way too many people. And so we did that by increasing the population of 3, taking the people west of 86 or east of 86 away from 4 and moving it into 3, which at least it's sensible. Everybody west of, or yeah, east of 86th and west of the river are going to be in 3. And then we had to remove a portion in the northwest corner of 4 as well to get the population down below the 3,500 people. And Dave identified a census block, which is a little bigger than I was picturing in my mind, but that's what happened there. But and 7 and 8 are completely new. They were in 5 before. I think I've identified all the changes other than the ones we've already addressed. So I don't think anybody will be alarmed, but voting place will change, of course, for those people, or it could change. It could change for everybody for that matter, because we still have to identify where the right voting places are for people.
Well, Council, do you have any questions or concerns about?
Only
What's
one
being
question I
proposed here?
have. Sorry, one question I have. It looks very good, right prior to prior map. Only thing I don't like the contiguous, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8. It's just a little bit odd, but there's nothing major to be concerned. Just doesn't look right, that's all.
Numbering.
Numbering.
We can change the numbers. That's not an issue at all.
I guess it's because we started with the old one and 6 was up north, and that's how we.
As I said,
left
it's
the
not a
same
major
number, but-
concern. It's not a major concern, just.
Actually, Tom, this is Dave. I think, Suresh, if I'm understanding and hearing you correctly, in your mind, you would like to swap 5 and 4 in number only. But I think the reason that we left them kind of out of continuous sequence, if you will, is because the majority of people that were in the former 4 still vote in 4. In case there's somebody out there that's hung up on which precinct they're in,
Sure.
I think that's the only reason we left that way.
Those are historical numbers for those people.
Yeah, as I said, it's not a concern. It just looks odd on the map, but I mean, if people are already used to that being 4 or 5 or 6, that's perfectly fine. But otherwise, the map looks better than the previous version 1.
I'd like to say Dave, it was a pleasure working with you. I had a really pleasant working session with you. It was really good. And I see you've elaborated on or revised a few things that had to be revised since you and I talked, but I think that's all sensible to me.
Well, Tom, I really appreciate you coming forward on Monday night and sharing some concerns, and I appreciate you getting together with Dave and Cindy and working through this. I was confident that we could probably get to a place where everybody was in agreement on what we needed to do. So any other questions or comments?
No, I think
concerns?
I think it's good. I come from, my experience with whenever you start drawing these lines is at the state level, where the political people,
Right.
and with the exception of Steve and Cindy, everybody in this room is a political person. And I would include you, Tom, in that.
I suppose so.
I mean, and so I like the state system in which the political people just voted up or down. They don't get a chance to mix the line. So that was a preference I really
I see your
had.
point.
And second of all, it frustrates me when people say there's an east side and a west side of Johnston, and sort of that people can't cross. And so I didn't appreciate that approach or messaging that I kind of heard Monday night. That said, I've heard more since then that I think there's a rational reason for sort of saying, hey, let's try to minimize how much people who maybe don't have full mobility, make it as easy for them. And I think that's a legitimate.
That's the main concern.
That's a legitimate reason. So, like I said, I supported the first plan. I'm going to be like Zach Walls. I'll support whatever plan's in front of me. I'm not sure that worked out for him either, but I think it'll work out for me. So.
I just want to confirm that Chapel Ridge is in District 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
I also see that the brownstone, what appears to be the brownstone section is also in, at least part of it is in 2.
I think the brownstones are in 6.
Part
No,
into
there are two.
six.
There are two.
So to clarify, because it's not clear on
No.
this very large map, there are 3 buildings of Hubble's brownstones that are part of 6.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, that's that little notch that's up there.
Oh,
So the people.
That's a
okay.
census
Six.
tract that's got like 70 people in it. If you look at the census tract stuff that's
Sure.
sent us.
Yeah, Tom, I looked at the numbers, Tom Cope. I looked at the numbers. I think that the census reports 70 persons there,
Yep.
50 of which might be of eligible voting age.
You said 50 that are voting age, yeah. And I think the hard part is you get into, so that's 50 people. If you switch them to 2, then that's gonna be too many people for number 2.
Right, right.
And so it
Yeah.
gets to be a challenge.
Well, I don't really care either way, which way they go, but it does appear that there's a portion of the brownstones are in one precinct and a portion are in the other. We had the same problem with Chapel Ridge, which has now been resolved, but
Yeah, again, I don't,
not a big deal.
I'm not an expert, but I would guess that the residents at Chapel Ridge are longer-term residents than the ones at Brownstone.
Oh, you think so? Maybe.
I think so. And I'd be more concerned about confusing them than the residents at Brownstone.
Yep.
Anything else,
It's
Council?
gonna be so much easier when we all get that chip implanted in our arms. So we just, when we vote, we show the chip and that'll prove that no voter fraud has occurred.
Comes in the vaccine.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, please. You said that a little too close to a microphone.
oh
I wasn't
my.
paying attention. What did he say?
He said that came with.
It's in the vaccine.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah,
So-
exactly. That's what happens when we get in trouble.
We will reconvene on Monday night for a brief meeting then. We'll consider the second and third reading of the new proposed map. It will go out to the public on Friday.
Well, it has to be approved we'll publish our
No,
ordinance.
what I mean is, it'll be,
Oh, yeah, it'll be
the
posted.
notice
on
of
Friday.
the
Yeah,
meeting
yep.
with the agenda
Yep.
and the maps will go out on Friday, so people will have an opportunity before our Monday meeting to review it again. And we will have a second and third reading on Monday,
That's at 6 o'clock, is that right?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
And it is a Zoom?
No, I can't be strictly Zoom.
Oh, we have to be here.
You don't,
Well,
Some of
You
us
don't
have to be here.
I
I'll
have
be
to be
here.
here, the room has to be open, people have to be able to.
I can't hear you, Cindy, what?
I said, the room has to be open, I have to be here, people have to be able to come here.
Right, but
Yeah.
if you want to participate
By Zoom,
remotely,
you
you
can.
can.
Yes, yep.
Cindy, is it possible to send out version 3 similar to how you have it printed for us? In other words, with the precinct line or boundary less thick than you did
Yeah,
before?
we just were kind of rushing at the end to get some down and dirty maps, but Dave will clean those up and we'll get them sent out.
Perfect.
Could-
Or when you publish it.
Yeah,
either
could
way.
1 and 2 be colored a little differently?
Yeah, there,
Yes.
that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
A nice royal purple.
Good job, all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? We are adjourned.